Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Ching, ching. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video I'll be reacting to one of the earlier uploads from my YouTube channel, the game Theorists, and this video is about Zelda, the Breath of the Wild, the science of. So yeah, I hope that you like this and let's get to it. This video is from 2017, so this is around 4 years ago. Yeah, let's watch it.
Dear Nintendo. Dude! Why did I wait so long to play Breath of the Wild?
Hi Nintendo.
No, seriously, I only just got a Switch last month, but I forgot that you also released Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, which I totally own! Why did I forget that there was a Wii U release? Well, I think that's how you pronounce that. Text-based temper tantrums don't always translate to voice very well. Hi, it's me, Austin!
I really like it that he just like.
Honestly, while it's a huge bummer that I waited almost a year to play what is clearly the best AAA title to come out this year, I'm also a little glad because in all that time, Nintendo still hasn't joined the modern era of cloud-based save backups. So when I finally got my hands on a Switch, I would have had to start all over from scratch. And in the short time I've had the game, I've clocked over 100 hours already.
Wow, that's a lot.
Because I have a serious weakness for open world games. Seriously, look at my Steam profile.
That's true. Open world games really does allows players to literally have an adventure. That's, yeah, it's really fun to play with.
Barring Elite Dangerous, which is an outlier because the stupid launcher that I forget to close every time counts toward hours played, almost everything on this list is a narrative open world RPG. Liquefy it and inject it into my eyeballs, Bethesda! My soul is prepared! Breath of the Wild is
What?
my first foray into the Zelda franchise in years. No, decades. Seriously, I didn't own a Nintendo 64, and for some reason, even though I owned like 50 games for my SNES, I didn't have any of the Zelda titles for it. Somehow, it was super important that I have the movie tie-in game for Judge Dredd, but not one of the best games released for the console. So, yeah. I haven't played Zelda since like this one. But Breath of the Wild gave me the inspiration to go back and play some of the older titles. And yeah, that's right. Prepare yourself, Wind Waker, because I am coming for you. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon we're gonna have a reckoning about giving a 10-year-old child a magic wand that controls the weather. If you've played the game or even seen a few minutes of trailers, you know that there's a ton of material in this game for science.
For science. True.
Robots, lasers, sentient chameleons, and iPhones with a battery life lasting over 100 years. Suck on that, planned obsolescence. I can't even keep a phone lasting 2 years without something going belly up. But for those of you who are internet savvy and look at thumbnails or video titles, you know that's not what I'm talking about today. No. Instead, I'm focusing my cold, hard, calculating science vision on the main antagonist of Breath of the Wild, the f***ing rain.
The weather. Of all the things to talk about, you have to talk about the weather. Interesting.
Ganon? Pfft, whatever, no problem. Bokoblins? Lionels? Who cares? No skin off my nose. When it starts to rain just before you've gotten to the top of a very stiff cliff face, and I'm on my very last little wedge of stamina, The climbing mechanic is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I love it so freaking much. As someone who spent most of their time jumping sideways up the mountains of Skyrim and clambering into obscure corners of World of Warcraft, I adore that a huge, beautiful, open world caters to my obsessive drive to explore by letting me go literally anywhere. Hyrule better settle in because I'm not rescuing any princesses until I've climbed every frickin' mountain and spelunked every single cave. But then there's the rain, which makes it impossible to climb by making surfaces slick. Why does it seem like it's always raining here? Hey, Nintendo, just let me climb. But while it may seem excessive if you're an accomplished climber like me, I can't take it as granted that the seemingly constant rainy weather is actually that ridiculous. I am, after all, a scientist. So instead of crying like a little baby, I spent several days, over 50 hours, gathering and extrapolating data for a video on a video game that will be only 16 minutes long. Let's do this!
It's like, let's do this! Oh, that's a lot of effort to make this particular video. Let's watch it. Dun, dun, dun.
Originally, I didn't actually want to uncover the answers of the rain all that much because I was convinced that the absurdly extreme climate conditions of Hyrule would have disastrous consequences. Huge frozen tundras right next to a desert, right next to temperate marshes and grasslands, right next to a freaking volcano that's so hot that you just straight up burst into flames even if you're nowhere near the ground.
Wow! Literally right next to each other. Only games.
I was convinced that Hyrule would be a crater caused by excessively powerful volcanoes and hurricanes made of death, but I'm getting ahead of myself. In order to even know what effect these vastly different climate zones have on one another, we need to know how big Hyrule even is. And while that may seem like an unanswerable question, since there's approximately 1 billion different estimates out there, ranging from the absurdly huge 360 square kilometers to a respectable 61, and while I was tempted to just use one of these numbers out of sheer laziness, I wouldn't be me if I didn't throw out the rulebook and find my own answers. Impossible, you say? Ha! Nope! In fact, I think I have the most accurate measurement of Hyrule's size to date out of anyone. But why do I even need to know that? Because land area is incredibly important when looking at how winds, air pressure, and weather fronts and rotation works.
Wow, just saying, that's a lot of details in one game. Wow, a lot of efforts made into it. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. They are super amazing.
We need to know how big Hyrule is so we can know exactly how cataclysmic the weather should be. And there is a way to figure out how large Hyrule is using my good friend trigonometry and the best minigame in the world, the Parasail game. Which means I'm going to be hearing a lot of this song. Like, a lot. We can use this minigame to get an accurate measurement of Hyrule because the game actually gives your distance in meters. Using this, we can measure a line on the ground, use that line as a radius to create a circle, use that circle to create a pixel to square meter ratio, measure the pixels in a scale size map, and bingo, bingo, bongo, you just got Hyrule size. Now, the problem is that you need a big measurement in order for this to mean anything. Just lying 500-ish meters isn't gonna cut it because scaling up that measurement to cover a huge country the size of Hyrule means that any errors or margins of wiggle room in your measurement are gonna get scaled up exponentially, which is gonna lead to increased inaccuracies. So ideally, we'd get measurements of over 1,000 meters. But in an ideal world, we'd get something even more awesome, like 5,000 meters. But how is something like that even possible? I present to you the flying machine.
Yeah, the flying machine. It's not in the game, is it? I don't remember it being in the game.
By abusing the absurdly broken physics in Breath of the Wild, you can stack two metal objects on top of one another to create a flying machine that never runs out of power. It's not the easiest thing in the world to pull off. But after hours of perfecting the most useless skill on the planet, you can fly a flying machine to Ridgeland Tower, land it, start the minigame, reassemble it, take it as high as you possibly can, hit the invisible ceiling, and then it's just smooth.
Just mention the invisible ceiling. It is a game after all, you can't just go to space. Or can you? Or can you? Huh.
Sailing, assuming you were smart enough to make some stamina recovering items. I had to do this twice. Once to measure the height of the ceiling, and another to actually do the long parasail. I needed the height because the minigame doesn't measure the distance over the ground you've traveled. It measures a straight line in 3D from wherever your feet officially leave the ground, meaning that it's measuring from 1,448 meters up in the air.
Pythagoras theorem! I can sense that. C squared equals to A squared plus B squared.
All the way down to where you land. If you want an appropriately accurate ground measurement, you need to know the height you start flying at so you can make a right angle and use the good old Pythagorean theorem to
Yeah! I knew
get
it.
the base of said triangle. At 5,117.9 meters of travel distance, therefore, you're looking at a ground cover of 4,908.7 meters. Using that to get the area of a circle, pi r squared, over a map of Hyrule and creating a pixel ratio and cutting out the land area, you get a size of Hyrule clocking in at exactly 70.97 square kilometers of travelable land, or 82.57 square kilometers if you count the ocean and outlying islands. That's actually not that far off from the 61 square kilometers from earlier, which strangely is listed as being able to fit 140 Vatican cities, which sounds impressive until you realize that the Vatican is freaking tiny. That's like saying Hyrule could fit 175 used car dealerships.
Or you can say that you can fit in a couple hundreds of my nations, Singapore. Yeah, you know, it is a game. It is a video game, so.
Alright, so we got that out of the way. Next is to measure the temperature, all of it, which I did. I built an 8-point temperature scale and measured huge swaths of Hyrule in order to build a temperature map. The whole process was too boring and long to get into, but at the end of the day, I built a fairly accurate temperature map of Hyrule. Using this combined with the known size of Hyrule, I can immediately rule out several things. Hyrule is... well, it's actually pretty tiny. Most actual kingdoms in real life covered over 1,000 square kilometers of land. Hyrule is more the size of a duchy or a county. Pretty small, but still, we don't actually know how large the empire of Hyrule was before Ganon turned it into Fallout Studio Ghibli edition. This
You just mentioned that Fallout Studio Ghibli editions.
means that things like tornadoes, hurricanes, they're not a problem we're gonna have to deal with. Even with these extreme temperature variations, there simply isn't enough landmass to create the cells that drive these kinds of weather patterns, which require hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers and miles to form. What this does mean, however, is that the weather in Hyrule is going to be chaotic and windy as hell. And in order to understand why, we're gonna have to talk about one thing: air pressure. Weather happens because of wind, and wind exists because our planet is heated unevenly by the sun. This happens because of a few reasons. One, the Earth is round and not flat, so as it rotates, one side is getting baked from all the sweet sunlight while the other half is covered in darkness. Now, when one area heats up more than another, a pressure disparity is created, since hot air expands and rises. When it expands, it creates a... When it expands...
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? Do you just... Okay.
And it creates a low pressure area since, spread out stuff is less dense than close together stuff. But most importantly, air moves from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure.
Yes, from high pressure to low pressure. That's true.
Properly illustrated in science guy fashion by this balloon. This balloon is under high pressure. When given an opportunity, it immediately deflates until the atmospheric pressure between the outside of the balloon and the inside of the balloon normalizes. This trading of high and low pressures over huge areas results in cyclones and anticyclones as air pushes together and expands away, since the rotation of the Earth creates rotation in moving objects.
Cyclonic flow and anticyclonic flow. Rising air, subsiding air.
Called the Coriolis effect. And
Coriolis effect. The more you know. Yeah, educational.
these are the scales where things like hurricanes and tornadoes are born, which means probably Hyrule is pretty safe, because Hyrule is super tiny. That being said, these principles of low-high pressure exchange do exist in these small areas, and they create something called local winds and local weather, or microclimates. These are weather and winds that only really happen in a local area of a few kilometers to 100 kilometers or so. These tend to shift from day to night as temperatures change, with winds moving up and down mountains depending upon where the sun is, but for the most part, air does what it always does. Moves from cold, high-pressure areas to hot, low-pressure areas. When this happens, water condenses to form clouds, like, I don't know, a glass full of ice. Damn, I am full of so many pearls of everyday examples here. Mapping out the
Yeah, everyday examples so that viewers is able to relate properly. So, thumbs up.
exchange of pressures from high to low, which condenses to become high, which moves out to low again, I found 5 key areas on the Breath of the Wild map that, if all is correct, should be the regions of the highest rainfall. And then, like some sort of idiot, I spent an in-game week in each of the 5 areas,
Like some sort of idiot.
or 168 real-world minutes each, which totaled over 14 frickin' hours of my life just so I could monitor the rainfall in these specific places. And, well, I discovered something mind-blowing.
Oh.
The 5th area down to the southeast is a bit of an outlier, as depending upon where you are, it literally rains 24/7. But this makes sense, since this is a rainforest in a basin with cold air falling down from these mountains, joining with warm, moist air from the oceans. This area would be raining all the freaking time. The other 4 areas, however, are a bit more modest, ranging from 10.99% to 26.66% of total time being either rain or thunderstorms. On top of it, 85 to 100% of the days had rainfall, meaning it either rained every single day or almost every single day. And
Almost every single day.
this is absolutely key. Not only is this totally believable based on the various pressure areas and how they'd interact with one another, this isn't actually a weird amount of rain. In fact, you don't even have to live near an equatorial rainforest to experience this much rain. What this means at the end of the day is that Hyrule is what's known as a temperate rainforest, a region in a temperate zone that isn't swelteringly hot, but gets an amount of rainfall expected of a lush rainforest region. And honestly, given the extreme regional temperature differences, we should count ourselves lucky that all we get is daily rains and we mostly don't get huge, terrifying wind gusts of 100 miles an hour. The only thing...
That's true, because this strange phenomenon that is occurring right next to each other, let me remind you, right next to each other, it just rain is quite lucky already, quite lucky.
The only thing that makes NGDS here is, like, why is there grass everywhere? This place should be, like, riddled with trees. With 12 hours a day of sunlight, huge amounts of water, Hyrule's huge plains should look more like Fangorn than Prairie Home Companion. Oh wait, I can't make that reference anymore. Damn it. Although, given the frame rate issues that I have in Korok Forest, I guess I can forgive Nintendo for this. So, cool.
Yeah, because too much trees, too much frame rate, and then boom. Unless they have a faster, I don't know, PS5. Just saying.
The seemingly constant rainfall actually makes a lot of sense when you look at Hyrule from above. That's kind of awesome. Looking at it this way makes me way less annoyed at Nintendo for irritatingly interrupting my ability to climb to the top of whatever nonsense I happen to see that I must climb. It also makes the weather feel like an intentional choice of theirs. Like someone there really knew what they were doing when they plotted out the different regional biomes. So, cool. I guess we'll just end it right there. Awesome. Sincerely, Austin. P.S.
Oh gosh, the flying machine. Come on. Ah, gosh.
Subscribe to the Game Theorists. Eh? Whackity schmackity doo.
At such an epic ending, he put it subscribe to Game Theorists. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you like this video as much as I do. The science of it is quite amazing for this particular video, and I hope that you watch some of their other videos as well from the Game Theorists. And if you do like my videos, please consider to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and comment down below if you have any share with us. And also follow my channel. Thank you. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, follow, comment, follow, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. But hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching. I know this is the science of... That's right. But hey, that's just a science video from the Game Theorists. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Yeah.